Before the sky had a name, before light learned how to travel, the first world was made from a body that had to die. There was no dawn, no horizon, no ground waiting for footsteps. There was only vastness without direction, silence without memory, and the slow tension between two ancient forces that had never meant to meet. On one side, fire raged without fuel, endless and self-born. On the other, ice endured without melting, eternal and unmoving. And between them stretched a void so complete it did not even know emptiness. But distance cannot remain forever untouched. Heat reached outward, and frost crept inward. And in the fragile boundary where they collided, existence began to gather. A drop formed where flame kissed ice. A tremor moved through nothingness. And from that trembling boundary emerged the first presence ever to be. He wasn't shaped with intention. He wasn't given breath by a creator. He was the consequence of forces too immense to remain separate. He was vast beyond comprehension. He was alone beyond measure. And he was the first life. He did not awaken into a world. He awakened into existence itself. There was no sky above him, no ground beneath him. He moved through a reality that had not yet decided what it wished to become. He drank from melting frost and rested within drifting heat. He did not question his existence, for questioning requires comparison, and there was nothing else to compare against. And yet, life does not remain solitary forever. From his being, new forms emerged, not through design, but through inevitability. From warmth upon his skin, from breath leaving his body, from the silent expansion from presence itself, others like him appeared. They were vast, powerful, and directionless. They did not build. They did not plan. They simply existed. Existence expanded without purpose, like waves without a shore. But within that growing presence, a different kind of awareness began to form. Where fire and frost continued their eternal tension, something new emerged, not immense like the first giant, but precise, not overwhelming, but observant. These beings were smaller, yet sharper in perception. They did not merely exist within chaos, they recognized it. They saw a truth that had never ever before been understood. A world cannot arise where everything remains unshaped. Chaos is boundless, but boundlessness cannot hold meaning. They observed the first giant and understood something profound. He was not simply part of disorder. He was disorder given form. As long as he endured, existence would remain directionless. To shape reality, something primordial had to change. This realization did not come with anger. It didn't come with cruelty. It came with clarity. Creation requires transformation, and transformation demands sacrifice. The decision was not spoken for. Language did not yet exist. But purpose does not require words. They approached the ancient being not as enemies, but as agents of possibility. The confrontation that followed was not a battle between good and evil. It was the collision between permanence and becoming. The first giant resisted not out of hatred, but instinct. He had never known resistance. He had never needed to defend existence itself. Yet, purpose sharpens in ways size cannot overcome. The void trembled with their struggle, and for the first time, force met intention. For the first time, existence encountered consequence. And in that boundless expanse where nothing had ever ended before, The first life fell. Silence returned, but it was no longer empty. It was waiting. They did not mourn. They didn't hesitate. But for what had ended was not destroyed. It had become possibility. They began to shape. From his vast form, they created ground, solid and enduring. And from his flowing presence, they formed oceans, deep and restless. His bones rose upward, becoming mountains that would one day touch clouds not yet imagined. His teeth scattered into stone. His hair spread into forests, waiting for wind. His skull arched high above, becoming the sky itself. Nothing was discarded, and nothing was forgotten. Creation was not born from nothingness. It was carved from transformation. Yet the world they formed did not immediately breathe. Structure alone does not create life. Form alone does not create meaning. And so, they gave motion to stillness. They placed lights in the sky to divide them. They shaped cycles so existence would not drift endlessly. They guided rhythm into reality. For the first time, there was direction. The world became a place where beginnings and endings could be measured. Yet, beneath its beauty lay a silent memory. Mountains stood firm, but deep within them remained the echo of bone. Oceans moved with rhythm, yet carried the memory of blood. The sky stretched vast, and yet bore the silent curve of what once lived. Creation itself had not erased its past, and within that foundation, life would one day awaken. When new beings emerged upon the earth, they did not know the origin of the ground beneath their feet. They walked upon what had once been a living presence without awareness of its history. Yet something within them responded to the world as if recognizing a distant memory. They felt awe before mountains. They felt reverence before ocean. They felt wonder beneath the sky. And for existence built from sacrifice carries resonance. The world was not merely a place. It was inheritance. Time unfolded, seasons formed, and winds learned direction. Light and darkness entered their endless dialogue, and life grew, changed, struggled, endured, and yet the foundation never changed. Everything that lived did so with a reality born with transformation. This ancient story whispers a truth older than memory. Creation is not gentle. It isn't effortless. It isn't free from loss. To shape something enduring, something vast must yield. The first giant was not erased. He became the world. His existence did not end. It expanded beyond self. Every river that flows carries a trace of that beginning. Every stone that holds silent history. Every horizon stands a reminder that existence can be reshaped. And perhaps that is why the world feels alive, even when silent. Why storms feel purposeful. Why mountains seem watchful. Why oceans speak in endless motion. Because the world was not assembled from emptiness. It was carved from presence. There is meaning hidden within this transformation. Endings are not always annihilation. Sometimes they're expansion beyond form. What once was singular became universal. What once was a single existence became the foundation for countless lives. The world is not separate from its origin. It is its continuation. And so, existence moved forward, carrying within it a quiet promise. Nothing that becomes foundation is ever truly lost. Every transformation leaves behind a structure. Every sacrifice leaves behind possibility. Every ending leaves behind space for beginning. The sky remains vast, not because it was empty, but because something once gave it shape. The earth endures not because it was always solid, but because something once surrendered form. The ocean moves not because they were always water, but because something once flowed with life. This is the inheritance of creation. A world born not from nothingness, but from transformation so profound it became reality itself. And if no one listens closely, not with ears, but with awareness, the world still speaks that origin. In the stillness of stone, in the rhythm of tides, in the quiet between breaths, a reminder persists. Before there was order, there was chaos. Before there was world, there was presence. Before there was life as we know it, there was sacrifice. And from that sacrifice came everything that would ever exist. The world stands not as proof that chaos was defeated, but as proof that chaos was shaped, not erased, not denied, but transformed. So the next time you imagine the first dawn, remember it did not rise over emptiness. It rose over a world carved from a body vast enough to become eternity. And existence continues, builds upon that ancient transformation, moving forward through time while carrying within it the silent memory of its beginning. The world was not created gently. It was forged through necessity. It was shaped through decision. It was sustained through balance. And long before stories were told, long before voices spoke of gods or worlds, reality itself was carved from what once lived. That is how existence began, not from nothing, but from everything. If this story stirred something in you, there are many more legends waiting, or myths. Tell me in the comment section down below which myth that you want next. And until the next tale, stay curious.